Indiana basketball has put pedal to the metal, bringing in some of the biggest names out of the transfer portal for visits, and now it's time for commits.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We have tons to go over on today's episode. Curt Cignetti met with the media yet again this week, had some interesting notes from spring practice, including the quarterback situation, offensive line, running backs, and receivers. A lot of offensive notes today from Curt Cignetti. We'll talk about that. Plus, what positions of need that Indiana's going after for basketball in the portal, and how much money that it might cost. But let's talk about some more names for Indiana and head coach Darian DeVries, who we knew going into this portal cycle, they, being Indiana, were going to be one of the more aggressive teams in the portal. They were going to reach out and talk to just about every player that they could, try to get them on campus and try to fill this roster immediately. We're going to talk about some more big names in just a moment, but do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we're driven by the details. Highlights make the real, but the work behind them makes it count. Stay tuned for this week's Moving the Game Forward, the all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. Well, we've told you about Markus Burton, the Notre Dame transfer, who is going to be here on an official visit Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Hoosiers still working with guys like Jaeden Mustaf, the center from Louisville, Jalen Harrelson, the guard/forward from Notre Dame. We have some more guys leaving the team like Alexa Ristic and things like that. Nick Dorn was another big update, and one that was disappointing for Indiana, right? Leaving the team through the transfer portal. But I mean, at the end of the day, not overly surprising. That was really the only one that I had any hope of hanging on to. But best of luck to him and of course, all the other guys as well. But it's now confirmed. On top of Markus Burton, the Notre Dame transfer, Indiana has several more visits lined up, and they're trying to get another one with a big man on campus very soon. Let's start with the big man, because I've teased you with it here for a little bit, and you've been begging and asking for what big guys is Indiana going after. Talked about Jaeden Mustaf from Louisville. Let's talk about Aiden Sherrell from Alabama, the center who is listed as a forward but played as a center for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay, he entered the transfer portal with a do not contact clause, but Indiana is one of the teams that he has been in communication with. He basically entered and said, I've got my list. Nobody else talked to me. I'm going to handle this. He's 6'10", 255 pounds. He just completed his sophomore campaign in Tuscaloosa. He averaged just over 11 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, shot the basketball at a 54% clip from the field, also shot it at 33% from the three-point line, which I like that from a big guy. I'll talk about it in a moment. His rebounding numbers jumped up significantly by 3.5 on average from his freshman season to his sophomore campaign, and he averaged over 2 blocks a game, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the block category, that is ridiculous. And he is a rim protector. He's a paint menace and a guy that I think could be really good in the Indiana system, depending on what system Indiana wants to run. Are we going to play more of a half-court 5-on-5 offense, which we somewhat did last year, but didn't really have a mindset or a game plan when we did it? Or are we going to run the just go, run and gun? Let's see if we can grab rebounds, push the basketball, and beat them down the floor. That's what Darian DeVries talked about when he was hired, but Indiana didn't really do that. And when we did run, it was so out of control and like a baby deer, right? It led to turnovers, bad shots, and then odd man rushes the other way. So Indiana's got to figure out exactly what system they want to run. But you get a guy like Aiden Sherrell who can play the true center spot, you're in business and you want to play 5-on-5 basketball. And I think his numbers are not skewed, but they were limited at Alabama because if you're a college basketball fan, you know what Alabama basketball is. They are the definition of run and gun. They are, let me grab this rebound, let me pass it ahead, and let me just rip this three in your eyeballs and see if you can defend it or not. And if it goes in, you're screwed. If not, Alabama's in for a long night. They shoot 40, 50 threes a game, dude. They don't care. That's how Alabama rolls. And so for a true center, like an Aiden Sherrell, and that system doesn't work for a guy like him. It just doesn't. And so I think he's uber talented. I think he is someone that is someone who scares you in the lane. I'm trying to come up with the word and I just can't do it. But he's a threat in the lane on both ends of the floor. He's got a little bit of a passing ability as well, and his offensive rebounding in a shooting offense like Alabama, which Indiana tends to be too. That is what you're looking for. Someone who can clean the glass, kick it out for open threes. It's the best time to shoot a three is off an offensive rebound. So Indiana is in the mix for Aiden Sherrell. Other teams that you need to keep an eye on here, Michigan or possibly Michigan State is there. Missouri is somehow in this running as well. And so Indiana's trying to make that happen and get that on lockdown with Aiden Sherrell. So that's the first name that I want to discuss. The second name that I want to talk about is a guard from the power conference level, somebody that had pretty solid numbers and saw his numbers get better from his freshman to sophomore campaign. Jaeden Mustaf. He is coming in from Georgia Tech. This guy is on a visit as we speak. He is in Bloomington, talking with Darian DeVries, talking with the coaches, is the 6'6", 210-pound guard, originally from the state of Maryland, just finished up his sophomore season down in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. He averaged about 10 points a game. He averaged 4 rebounds a game, little over 2 assists a game as well, and shot the basketball at a 43% clip. And in his sophomore season, shot the three-pointer at almost a 39% clip as well. Only about a turnover and a half a game. I really like the physicality of Mustaf here. I watched his film in preparation for today's episode, and he looks very much like a Tatum Connerway-esque. He's very clean with the basketball in his hands. He doesn't look 6'6", but he plays like Tatum Connerway did, who's actually 6'3", if you can believe it. But they have a very similar play style. They're confident with the basketball. They are not scared to take it into the lane. He's got some incredible footwork and finishing moves at the rim as well. He also has the ability to pass out of trouble when he finds himself amongst the trees, and I really like that from Jaeden Mustaf. He can shoot it when he needs to. He's got a very high arcing shot, especially from behind the arc, but he's not scared to shoot it from the mid-range level. He's not afraid to shoot it from behind the arc. He also gets up and down the floor, good length at 6'6", and can defend when he needs to. And so this one came as a little of a surprise, but then started to hear the rumblings. It then was reported and confirmed. He is on campus right now. And I think this could be somebody who could start for you. I don't know if you put him at the point guard to handle the basketball. I don't know if you want him to be that off-ball type of guy, but you have options here. And so these are the ones I want to highlight for now. Jaeden Mustaf, again, from Georgia Tech. Aiden Sherrell from Alabama. There is some more stuff going on for Indiana. Do have a guard from Duke who is visiting as well, or going to be visiting coming up at the end of this weekend. Darren Harris from Duke. Couple of years of eligibility for all these guys, by the way. Couple of years of experience, couple of years of eligibility. Darren Harris would be more of a, hey, you've got P4 experience or P5 experience, but the numbers aren't going to blow you away. But the guys that I just talked about are a big deal. 2 of 3 are going to be on an official visit along with Markus Burton, not all exactly at the same time, but 3 visitors so far, more on the way, including Aiden Sherrell, the big guy for Alabama. I'm telling you, the Hoosiers are putting in work in the portal, but it doesn't just take work. And it doesn't just take a roster spot. It takes a whole lot of cash as well. Talk about some of the reported numbers that it takes to be competitive this coming season in college basketball, and it will shock you. We talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Mazda. This is Moving the Game Forward by Mazda. For those who know, the score never tells the whole story. We're talking college basketball, right? So I felt that it was appropriate to highlight a performance by the most outstanding player from the NCAA tournament, from the national champion Michigan Wolverines, which props to Michigan for winning the first championship for the Big Ten since 2000 when their rival Michigan State did it. But Elliot Kudo is the guy who moved the game forward. 19 points in that game, 3 rebounds, couple of assists. His passes are incredible. His defense is phenomenal, and that dude can flat out ball. Elliot Kudo moved the game forward, but there's more to these players than just the highlights. The early mornings, late night runs, constantly showing up for their squad on and off the court. The all-new Mazda CX-5 moves the same way, with more space to connect, a bold new design, and more intuitive technology, so you can stay connected to the road at every position you play. The all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, in case you didn't know, and we're coming up on it here quickly. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you are getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar that you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics, basketball, football, recruiting, transfer portal, you name it, we got it for you here on Locked On Hoosiers. And if this is your go-to spot and you are an everydayer and you want just a little bit more, for $5 a month, you could actually get a lot more. You can join our Everydayer Club that we have going right now. It's $5 a month. You sign up, you join at the link below, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, and you're going to get this show ad-free every single day. So the same exact show that you already watch and listen to, you'll get the audio version ad-free to you every single day. Plus, you're going to get access to our members-only Discord, which is a big group chat. We're talking about the portal, talking about recruiting, all the different things going on. You'll get access to that as well. So head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, $5 a month. Can't even get a cup of coffee for that anymore. Cheeseburger doesn't matter. Nothing really costs $5 a month anymore. But this does. Become a member of our exclusive Everydayer Club at lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. We're talking more college basketball because Indiana, as we knew going into the offseason for a completed year one for Darian DeVries, where the Hoosiers missed the tournament, we understood that a lot of the guys we brought in from last year would not be back this year for multiple reasons, eligibility, or they were just fillers because, you know, Darian DeVries just had so little time to put a team together. And we should really feel sorry for him. I'm not going that far as Scott Dolson tried to get us to, but I do think some of the roster was not Big Ten ready or Big Ten competitive. And that's why you're seeing not a mass exodus, but the guys that didn't play, they're not here anymore for Indiana, right? And the ones who are out of eligibility, obviously, you know, best of luck to them in their next adventures. But Indiana's got to completely rebuild this team, and they're doing so by trying to find starting guards, trying to find starting forwards, trying to find this crazy thing. What's it called? A starting center, not a 6'8" forward, not a 6'9" forward who played center in high school. I'm talking about somebody that's got legitimate size, legitimate physicality, and someone who can play the 5 in power conference basketball. But there was a report put out. All right, there was a report put out earlier this week And it talks about the going rate right now in the transfer portal for the biggest positions of need in college basketball. And these numbers were reported by some coaches and GMs and assistant coaches in college basketball of some of the top programs in the country. Again, they were anonymous. We don't know who exactly it was, but this was their take and their opinion on the going price in the portal for some of the top players right now in the transfer portal. This was put out and reported, and I don't agree with these people, but I'm a professional and will give credit where it's due. This is their post. It's from the Field of 68. Okay. They put out these numbers that the going rate, according to coaches of college basketball, the going rate for a wing, all right, 3/2, maybe, okay, you're going to pay $2.5 to $3 million for a shooting guard, small forward. For a legitimate top of the line starting point guard, you're going to pay $3 to $4 million. And if you want a big man, if you want a center, a legitimate dude at the 5 or a big power 4, you're going to pay $4 to $5 million for him. That's what coaches are saying right now. $4 to $5 million for a center / a forward, $3 to $4 million for a point guard, $2.5 to $3 million for everybody else. That's just your starting 5. Folks, go on the low end of that. You're looking at 4, 8, 11, and let's just say 2 and 2 for easy math. You're sitting at 15, right? Or 14. Wait, 15. I jinxed myself. $15 million, right? 4 and 4 for your 2 big men, 3, which is 11, 2 for a guard, which is 13, and then 2 for another guard, which is 15. You're talking $15 million if you want a top of the line, state of the art starting 5. Most teams are not going to do that because guess what? $13 to $15 million is pretty much what the average, I guess, for legitimate programs who have legitimate NIL funds like Indiana, $13 to $15 million is about what they're willing to spend on the whole roster. So now you've got to try and pick and choose and decide, okay, where are we going to put our funds? Are we going to spend $4 million on a center and then only spend $1 million on a shooting guard? Maybe. Are we going to spend $3 or $4 million on a point guard and only spend, $1 million or $2 million on a power forward? Maybe so. But at the end of the day, man, college sports, as you all know very well, it's pay to compete. You got to have money to be in it. And it's like the lottery. If you ain't in it, you're not going to win it. And that is unfortunately where we are in college athletics. Okay. That's where we are. But Indiana, I've continued to tell you, the Hoosiers will be competitive. They will have a good roster. They will pay for that good roster. And I think a lot of you would say, pay the $5 million, get a starting center. I don't care what you do with anything else. And I totally hear you, but that's what Indiana's trying to do, right? That's why you were in the Bidunga sweepstakes. That's why you've talked to Sananda Fruit. That's why you're trying to get Aiden Sherrell on campus and pay big bucks for a big man, because you just saw what happens when you don't have one. When you have a bunch of 3s and 4s trying to play 4 and 5, it simply doesn't work. And man, how disappointing was Reed Bailey? No offense to the guy, but he was disappointing. I mean, he turned out to not be anything that we wanted him to be. And Sam Alexis was good. He just couldn't stay out of foul trouble, and he could only play so long because, again, he couldn't stay out of foul trouble. So Indiana, for the most part, didn't really have a big man here, and that's where they're going in the portal. You need a starting point guard. You need a starting center. You need a shooter or 2, and those can come from the mid-major levels. You don't have to go get the one from Baylor or Clemson or whatever. You don't have to go get one from a power conference team. If you're just looking for a dude who can shoot the rock, go find one out west somewhere. Go find one in the woods of Colorado, or, the mountains of Colorado, the woods of Oregon. I don't care where they come from. As long as they can play and they can hang on defense, go get them and pay them a competitive salary, and let's see what you can do, because you still have to have depth in this league because of the grind that it is day in and day out. And so I believe that Indiana will land 2 to 3 top 50 players in the transfer portal, which is plenty good. Then you build around those with some other guys who maybe are a little less known, but do a little bit of research and be like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that guy. And you're going to have to bring in a couple of dudes. It's like, man, where the heck did you find this dude? Where in the world did he come from? And Indiana's going to have to do that. And guess what? That's the name of the game. But I'm confident in Indiana doing that. I'm curious on who they get, who they build around, and what the system will be all the way around, but especially offensively. And it starts with guys like a Markus Burton, like a Jalen Harrelson, Aiden Sherrell, all these different guys, okay, Jaeden Mustaf as well. You're looking at dudes and building around them. And once you get one, I think the dominoes will begin to fall. So those are the updates for Indiana basketball out of the transfer portal. Curt Cignetti met with the media this week and gave some updates from spring practice and a lot of interesting ones, particularly on the offensive side of the football. We talk about that in our final segment right after this on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's the stat that you need to know. All right, in the minute that I've been talking to you, give or take right here, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show, Locked On Hoosiers, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on Locked On Hoosiers. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now, you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. All right, final segment on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Ton of basketball. It's that time of year, and I understand if you want to hear more football, which is why you've hung around for the third segment where we are talking a little Indiana football because spring practice rolls on. Hoosiers are quickly approaching the spring, the end of spring and the spring game, right? Teams, you've got so many teams who are already done and having some this weekend and things like that, but Curt Cignetti met with the media this week and gave some fascinating updates, particularly on the offensive side of the football. I wrote some of them down that just kind of jotted down when he was talking. He was asked about Khobie Martin, the running back returning from a year ago, standout freshman at the running back spot, asked about his development and what he's seeing. And Curt Cignetti said that he has developed better than most out of his recruiting class. He has really come on strong. He runs hard. He's a physical specimen and says he's going to have a role in this Indiana offense. And I think that's probably accurate. Yes, because the head coach said it, but just talking about Khobie Martin in particular, right? You have Turbo Richard that you brought in from the P4 level. You also have Lee Beebe Jr., who is coming off of injury. Let's not forget that. and Khobie Martin, who played extremely well in his appearances last year, most of them being in the fourth quarter in runaway games. But Khobie Martin's a heck of a football player, and he carries the football with aggression. He hits the hole hard, and he is a difficult human being to bring to the floor. So I'm excited that Curt Cignetti is saying these things about Khobie Martin. He was also asked about the receivers and Charlie Becker in particular, and gave us a little insight that he pulled and kind of tweaked a hammy a little bit, the same one that he tweaked last fall, and said he overcame it and was fine. But Curt Cignetti said there's a chance that Charlie Becker does not play anymore in the spring. And I hate that. I really do hate to see that. I hate to hear that. I hope that he's okay. We hope that it's not anything lingering here. But that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, I don't think. I mean, look, Charlie Becker's a pro, man. Charlie Becker's been in this offense. He's been in this system. The only thing he's going to benefit from is catching footballs from Josh Hoover. More on that idea in just a moment as we wrap up. But you are trying to figure out who else is going to be catching the ball. Is it Shaz Preston? Is it LeBron Bond? You've got Nick Marsh in there too. Like, there are a lot of other dudes who are trying to establish themselves. And if Charlie Becker is watching from the sidelines this spring, that would at least give those guys the opportunity to do that. So definitely don't want to wish an injury on anybody, but if it's nothing major and he would benefit and the team could benefit and get better by him not being on the sidelines for that particular reason, then I don't think that that's the craziest thing in the world. He did also mention Curt Cignetti about the offensive line. He said, look, with Carter Smith being out, Bray Lynch has been in and out and kind of banged up. We're basically rotating 5 different dudes at the center spot and see what we got. We're trying to find the 5 best guys on the offensive line and then go from there. So don't expect any major decisions on who the true center will be, the guards. Carter Smith will play the left tackle spot, but who your right tackle is going to be, there's a lot of things up in the air, and Indiana's just trying to figure things out up front. Last thing I want to talk about, again, this is kind of a rapid fire, but Curt Cignetti was asked about the quarterbacks, and I believe he was asked about Tyler Cherry in particular, and said that for the first time ever, he sat his starting quarterback in practice. Josh Hoover did not throw the other day on Thursday. Didn't throw on Thursday in practice. Why? Because Curt Cignetti said there were still so many question marks about all the other guys in the room, Josh Bell, Tyler Cherry, those guys, that he wanted to see what they had going against the 1s and the 2s of the Indiana defense. That's fascinating to me. I don't think I've ever heard a coach say that or do that, which tells me 2 things. One, tells me Josh Hoover's just fine, right? Tells me Josh Hoover is really good at quarterback, and he's probably picked up on things pretty quickly, and he is obviously the starter, but he is just, leaps and bounds better than everybody else. And he's so good and so advanced that he could take a day off of practice and not skip a beat. Also tells me, and Cignetti kind of admitted this, that there's a lot to be learned and there's a lot of room to grow for the guys behind him. So Indiana's got to get that figured out, because unfortunately, you're a bad play away from Josh Hoover getting hurt and one of those guys coming in who we truly don't know who the backup is, and they have to step in and try and lead this football team. It's a scary thought. So crazy, interesting updates. And Cignetti did more than he typically does and gave a lot more detail. So I thought that was incredible from him. Really good insight from Cignetti and great stuff from practice so far for the defending national champions. But that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you again so much for being here. Make sure you do a few things on your way out. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It's free. It's easy. Notifies you every time we post an episode, which is every day, by the way. Also, drop your thoughts in the YouTube comments as well. It helps us grow and find more Hoosier fans. Follow us on your audio podcasting platforms as well. We are back on Monday for a normal episode, but anything over the weekend, we got you covered, okay? Right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.